What's up, everyone? My name is Scott, better known as Narebo, and welcome to what I consider to be the best airline livery in the world right now. Well, I think maybe that's a little bit of a stretch, but it's definitely one of my favorites, and it is not an easy one to illustrate. So I'm going to show you the process of how I create the Alaska Airlines new livery, and as you can see here, I am starting out in Adobe Illustrator, as I always do, by creating the main titles for the livery design or the livery illustration. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you'll know that I like to recreate all of the graphics from scratch. And as a matter of fact, I did have a very high resolution PNG version of this Alaska Airlines title font, or whatever you want to call it. It would have been absolutely perfect for the illustration. I could have overlaid it right on top of my aircraft template, and it would have been fine. But I don't know, I just don't get any satisfaction from taking somebody else's illustration or graphic and then putting it on top of my template. I got to create everything from scratch, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. And that Alaska font is very easy to trace in Adobe Illustrator. That was not an issue, but this little Eskimo character here is a different story. Actually, it's not all that complicated to trace. It's actually kind of easy because it's so, I don't know what the word for it is. It's just so rough and so jagged. You know, you don't have to be exactly perfect. You just got to go around all of the elements and trace all the pieces, which takes a little while. It's not all that difficult to do. This entire process, tracing the Eskimo, took maybe 15 minutes, maybe not even that, simply because it's not all that complicated. There's just a lot of little pieces, parts. And then you've also got to be mindful of all the different colors, too. There are, I believe, 4 different colors in this Eskimo graphic. And instead of just tracing around the entire thing as one solid piece, you got to kind of think ahead a little bit and remember that each section is going to be its own color, so you just got to trace all the pieces individually. It's not fun, but it's just something that you have to do. It's just part of the process. And, you know, I've said this over and over again if you've watched any of my other previous videos, but creating these graphics from scratch by yourself is what's going to make you a better illustrator. I know it takes time. I know a lot of people are impatient. I am impatient too. And yes, I know it would be a lot easier if I could just take a graphic that I found on the internet and just place it over top of my aircraft template and be done with it. It's tempting to do. I know it. But doing this makes me a better illustrator, and I know it's just something that I have to do, and I have to keep doing if I just want to grow as an illustrator and designer and that sort of thing. And I know, I mean, you may look at a graphic like this and you can say, you know, why, how does that make you better by just tracing blobs and shapes? Well, it actually makes you better in the sense that you get more comfortable with the pen tool or whatever tool that you're using and whatever software that you're using. It's just by that repetition and doing it over and over and over again, that's what's going to make you good. And it's just, you know, for me now, I've been doing this for so many years. The pen tool in Adobe Illustrator is something that I can just, you know, I can grab it, I can use it, I can do a lot with it without thinking about it too much. And that's really the important thing. So it takes years, it takes a long time, but once you get to that point where you are comfortable with the tool and all the, you know, the things that tool can do, it's going to be a really good thing. So now I am back in, what am I in? This is Illustrator. I am tracing the shapes of the Alaska Airlines livery over top of a photo that I found on airliners.net. It was probably the closest side-on profile photo that I could find. It wasn't perfect, but that's okay. I mean, with these illustrations, you don't have to be exactly perfect. So, you know me. I mean, if you've seen any of my other videos, you know I'm not striving for absolute perfection. I mean, it's okay to have a little bit of artistic license, and you can just do what you want to get it looking the way exactly that you want it. Anyway, now I'm tracing, or I'm placing those lines or those splines directly over top of my Boeing 737 MAX 9 template, which anyone can get for free. The low resolution JPEG version, just there's a link in the description below. I'll take you directly to that illustration if you want it, so you can follow along. And now this is the part of the Alaska Airlines livery that I don't like. This is really complex, and it's really hard to keep track of what you're doing because of the overlapping shapes and the way they interact with one another. It's headache inducing. By the time I got done with this, I was just, my head hurt. I mean, it's just there's so many pieces, and there's so many ways that these pieces overlap and intersect. You just really got to pay attention. And I do believe that I actually messed up at one point. I actually cut it away from this video and I trimmed all that part out. But I lost track of what pieces were intersecting with other pieces, and it was just a mess. And I just said, screw it. I gotta start over and do this again. But that's just the way that it goes. And again, it's just one of those things that makes you a better illustrator and designer when you can look at graphics or a complex graphic such as this and really understand what's going on, and understanding, or at least start to understand how you're going to illustrate it and how you're going to replicate it. It makes you a better designer. And so yeah, these complex liveries are tough, but you do enough of them over the years and it's going to make you better all around. So basically what I'm doing is I'm using those splines as a guide on my template, and I'm just building it, another version of it off the edge or off the side, just so I don't get things messed up. So once I got all that put together in Adobe Illustrator, I moved over to Adobe Photoshop. I just copied those vector shapes directly into Photoshop, and I'm going to use those as my base over top of the all-white version of my template, of that 737 MAX 9 template, which you can get, again, link in the description below. And there was no scaling that I had to do or anything, simply because the illustration that I had in Adobe Illustrator was exactly the same size as what I have here in Photoshop. Those two illustrations are exactly the same, so it's just a matter of just copying and pasting those two pieces in. So yeah, doing the winglet graphics now. This is the part that I hate the most, simply because I could never find really close-up, high-resolution pictures of those graphics and those elements that go on the winglet. But I did find this illustration. I think it came directly from Alaska Airlines. Look how complicated this is getting. All these overlapping shapes. And this is where I decided to do something a little bit different. I used the Pathfinder tool within Adobe Illustrator just to automatically cut all those shapes instead of having to do them individually and manually, which is the way I should probably be doing all my cutting anyway. But this one really forced me to do that. It feels like a shortcut. I don't know. I just like doing things manually. Shortcuts do save you a lot of time, and I don't know. I guess I'm just stubborn, but it's just a quick way of doing it. So now I'm looking at engine graphics and trying to figure out what's happening on the engine cover there. Again, just so much more. There's all these overlapping shapes and elements which don't really make a lot of sense, and it's really tedious to trace and to figure out and to keep track of what's going on. And you'll see in a moment here as I pull these lines away. Yeah, there you go. Look how complicated that is. And now I've used the Pathfinder tool again to automatically cut and splice all of those overlapping and intersecting shapes. So that wasn't so bad. Again, it feels like cheating a little bit, but that's what makes Adobe Illustrator so good. There are those tools which allow you to do that. And now I'm just copying and pasting all the elements over from Illustrator that I created. Got the nice looking Alaska Airlines titles there on the forward section. And yeah, just making some minor adjustments, changing the door outline colors, which is very easy to do via my Photoshop PSD templates, because everything is on a separate layer. All the elements, the shadows, all the individual pieces, the doors, that sort of thing. So it's super, super simple to work with. And it looks like I'm stealing elements from past Alaska Airlines illustrations that I've done. I've actually did this livery once before, and I thought it would be a really good one to do on video, so that's why I'm redoing it again right now. It's not a fun one to do, but it's really good in showing the process of how to create these aircraft livery illustrations. So it looks like I'm basically done with it now, and I'm just adding the usual gloss and hard reflection that I normally do on all my aircraft illustrations. Got that looking really good. And let's add some hard reflection there on the engine cover. Just something really, really subtle, really simple. And now some glossiness to the vertical stabilizer, which isn't very realistic, but it looks, it looks good for an illustration like this and that sort of thing. So there you go. There you have it. That is the process of what it takes to draw the brand new, or I guess it's not brand new anymore, but the new Alaska Airlines livery on the Boeing 737-9 MAX, or MAX 9. I'm not sure what the official naming of that is, but anyway, you get the gist. And by the way, if you want to get access to my fully editable PSD and vector aircraft templates at a substantial discount, 50% off, there is a link in the description below. You can join the Norebo discount club and just sign up for that. You'll get 50% off your first order, no matter how large or small that first order is. And you'll be working with these templates in no time. So yeah, if you have any questions, do let me know in the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer them. And as usual, I hope this was helpful, and I'll catch you in the next one.